Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric Nerding series on the MiSTer FPJ DE10 Nano project. More specifically in this instance, the work-in-progress Sega Saturn core. If you're wondering why we're talking about Heart of Darkness today, you'll see down below it says extension memory required, and that's because this is an in-development build of a game that never truly released on Sega Saturn. But over the weekend, SRG320 went in, updated the actual core, and now you even have expanded memory as far as RAM is concerned to be able to run a dev build like Heart of Darkness, making this one more game the Sega Saturn core plays. And honestly, at this point in time, I cannot locate a single game that it will not boot into and play. So as far as a lot of people on Discord think, and as far as I'm concerned, this is getting so incredibly close to the finish line it almost feels like a completed core. But there's still a few things to iron out, of course, and is anything ever complete as far as development is concerned on MiSTer FPJ or any other way to play games? There's always little improvements, nips and tucks that people can go in and take care of months or even years down the line. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. And before you ask, as of the recording of this video, and if something changes, I will leave it in the description. This is not yet an update all. If you're on the update all version of the Sega Saturn core, that is months and months behind what you've been seeing previewed on the channel, so you definitely want to go in and manually install that from the Unstables Nightlies channel on MiSTer Discord. It's as easy as dragging and dropping a single file into your underscore consoles folder so you can get the most recent changes. But honestly, just going through Heart of Darkness here, it's impressive it works in the core in the first place, because this is not a game that you can put a CD4 in your Sega Saturn and just get it to run. This is basically requiring a dev unit, so SRG320 has gone in and added new features into the Sega Saturn core that would never be on original hardware, showing that extreme dedication to making this the best way to play Sega Saturn games. And for so many of the games I've already shown on the channel and videos I have coming up, you really wouldn't be able to tell a single difference between the Sega Saturn FPJ core and real hardware, outside of the fact that we get clean HDMI out as well, so you technically get a better video signal out of your MiSTer FPJ than out of Sega Saturn, even with an RGB connector. But is this finished? Is it done? It really is hard to say, but if you want to play it today, 99 out of 100 games are going to seem absolutely perfect. And that really is, like I say in pretty much every video, the goal of a project like this. You want to be able to play MiSTer FPJ and Sega Saturn and have no idea you're actually playing it in the first place, just thinking you're playing an original console. So part of this video, I'm going to go through and kind of talk about the overall progress of this core, because we've been talking about it for 2 years now, kind of show you where it started, where it kind of progressed to, and where we are today. Because as far as the finality of this core is concerned, I'm sure there's still more updates to come, but it really is buttoning up those last tiny little bit of issues. One of the first games to run was Aliens, and seeing this run within MiSTer FPJ in and of itself was absolutely mind-blowing, because stuff like PlayStation 1, Sega Saturn, and Nintendo 64 were kind of considered to be theoretically possible on MiSTer, but no one was quite sure if they were going to work until people started working on them. And obviously Robert FPJ Zoomsposs proved to us that PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64 are possible on the core, and SRG320 is taking care of Sega Saturn now. But actually seeing something like Aliens run on the Saturn core in one of the first iterations was wild. Another one of the earliest games that actually ran and showed signs of life was Earthworm Jim, and when we saw this, it basically told us that Sega Saturn was going to be possible on MiSTer FPJ. We weren't sure if that was going to be 100% of the library, if we're just going to be some select games, but we now know today that everything runs, everything plays, and there are just a few little tiny bugs left to finish up, and that is absolutely a staggering amount of progress, even if 2 years feels like a long time. Honestly, I've run so many Sega Saturn testing videos at this point in time. When I actually go back into my asset library and use them within these edits, I don't even remember actually playing half of these games at this point in time. It's been that long, and I've done so many videos, and it's been that fun. Or something like Guardian Heroes. We talked about this game when it would play at like 4 frames per second and freeze up and glitch all the time. We talked about it when the FMVs would just basically crash the entire core and you'd have to restart your MiSTer. And now today, if you want to sit down and play Guardian Heroes, you can play it from start to finish with no bugs, no issues whatsoever, saving your game and just enjoying it like you would on real Sega Saturn hardware. And that is absolutely a massive testament to just how good SRG320 has done with this core. Or take something like Layer Section 2. The first time I previewed this, maybe back in late 2023 I believe, there was barely any graphics on the screen and the audio was so corrupted it might make your ears bleed if you had headphones on. Now the build before the one I'm talking about has this sound. It is absolutely perfect, so go ahead and listen for 45 seconds to hear how it's progressed, and I'll be right back with more. Honestly, at this point in time when I do these Sega Saturn testing videos, I haven't really found an audio glitch for probably some months now, so it seems like as far as the audio system on the Sega Saturn core is concerned, really no issues whatsoever. But I remember maybe about 18 months ago taking a look at Resident Evil and being absolutely blown away, as was everyone else, to even see this thing working. It had graphical glitches, it had some color issues, all of these door loading sequences were both slow and completely glitched out. We were just absolutely stunned to see this even working on MiSTer FPJ, and now today, it is another perfect experience in my opinion. Or stuff like Die Hard Arcade, some of the earliest versions of the cores that would actually run this game would have this issue where the polygons would basically explode into infinity. Now, I've already done a video that I will leave a link to in the description below. You can play both this as well as the Sega Titan video or arcade version of Die Hard Arcade and have a completely amazing time. Or even something like Power Slave. This is what it currently looks like. It's absolutely stunning. All of the lighting, model engine is in here, and if you've never played this game before, it is a straight up hidden gem on the Sega Saturn. Lobotomy Software were probably better than even Sega at developing games for the hardware, and Power Slave is the definitive example of how good they were. And if you want to sit down and play this game today, and I tested it recently on the core, it is absolutely flawless, it's stunning, it's amazing, and in my opinion it's one of the best first-person shooters of the 90s, and this is what it looked like maybe about 12 months ago. There was none of the lighting, none of the shading in the game, still amazingly fun, but didn't look or feel like Power Slave whatsoever, and that is how far this core has come. And now with Heart of Darkness working on a development cartridge, you can really tell that basically everything has been considered, thought of, and developed for the MiSTer FPJ Sega Saturn core, or something like any of the Capcom fighting games, absolutely outstanding on the core, and some of the best soundtrack samples I provided this entire testing. So go ahead and listen to how good it sounds today, and I'll be right back with even more games to show you.
Be gone! Magnetic Tempest! Tornado Claw! Real Claw! Tornado Claw!
And that really is the fun part, pointing to things and saying that they are indistinguishable from real Sega Saturn hardware, but that's not where we always were at as far as the core development's concerned. Daytona USA used to do this, basically the same bug that something like Die Hard Arcade had, and even though it wasn't working correctly, we just absolutely love to see it, because so much fun, at least for me, and I know a lot of you, as far as MiSTer FPJ and core developments are concerned, is not so much the end result, but it is the process along the way, seeing all of the different cores, the iterative design functions, being able to see graphics and sound and even gameplay improve in real time. That's really where a lot of the fun was, because you learn a lot about how the hardware functions. Something like Astal here, or Astal, depending on how you want to pronounce it, just used to absolutely bug out. It had a lot of issues on the overall layering on VDP1 or VDP2. Actually not sure which chip handled that, so if you know, leave me a comment down below. You'd be able to move around in the game, but basically the sprites would either appear or disappear at random. Definitely not the best way to play the game, but it was fun to see how the hardware was handling those layers. Now today, if you move over to the exact same game, if this wasn't running on real Sega Saturn hardware, and if I didn't tell you I was playing on MiSTer FPJ, you'd have absolutely no way of actually telling that was the case. And big thanks to Andy D, not only for capturing this version of Astal, but helping me the entirety along the way in capturing Sega Saturn footage. Dude has been an absolute asset, and he knows I appreciate him, but I'm leaving him one more thank you here. He is the Video Game Esoterica West Coast Correspondent of the Year for 2024, and honestly is in the running to take the top spot again in 2025, but if we're being real here, he's also the only Video Game Esoterica West Coast correspondent, so it's kind of a gimme. All jokes aside, his help's been invaluable. If you ever want to help me capture footage, definitely let me know, or if you see anything you might think I'm interested in, just send me a Twitter DM or on Discord. I appreciate you guys always keeping me informed, because I can't be every place all at once. When I'm doing voiceovers, I'm not checking the most recent retro gaming news, but something like Sonic Jam here, even with no textures on the floor, which is amazing to see running. Now again, today if you want to play it, it's 100% perfect perfectly fine. And as I go through the testing sheet, yes, we do have 100% playability in all of the games, and I really kind of struggle to find a game to even point to say, if you wanted to see where there was a current bug in the core, that's the one you would want to see. I went through some of the open GitHub issue tickets, and honestly, there really isn't much left. Now, does that mean that this core is going to be finished next week, next month, next year? I have absolutely no idea. SRG320 develops things at his own speed, and when he decides if he wants to put it in update all and call it done, that is up to him completely. We just have to kind of wait around and see, but of course I'm definitely hoping that is soon, so he can focus his attention on the 3DO core, and we'll finally be able to have a test version of that. Because as Saturn buttons up with all of the testing and all the videos, don't worry, I still have a lot of fun to do with this core in video format, but we're going to be getting right back into it once that 3DO test core comes out. We're going to be testing it the exact same way that we have on PlayStation 1, on Sega Saturn, and Nintendo 64, and it is wild to think I've been making these Mr. FPJ videos for almost 5 years now, and the project just keeps getting better and better every single year with new cores to talk about and test, and I can't wait to do the exact same thing for 3DO. But as far as the question, is the Sega Saturn core air quotes done? Not really. There are still a few things to iron out. I'm sure there's still some improvements that SRG320 has planned, but as far as all of the games, the North American, the PAL, and the Japanese library, if you load them up on the core today, you're going to be able to play them. And as far as single versus dual RAM Sega Saturn FPJ cores are concerned, the dual RAM still has a couple advantages in the 3D fighting games, but there are still options on the single RAM core to try to speed those up. So if you have a single RAM build, I really wouldn't worry too much about dual RAM, although I always get asked that question. But if you haven't updated your Sega Saturn core regularly, you definitely want to go pick this one up. It is the most fully featured Sega Saturn on MiSTer FPJ you'll ever have, and it is very close to rivaling real hardware. If you have any questions or comments about the core, leave them down below, but we're done. I'm going to go play some more Sega Saturn. I'll see you guys next time, though. Bye-bye.